powerful and unsurprisingly well written. And I've double checked this with people who don't brag about how many times they've read Harry Potter, so I know it to be true. And by the way, I'm up to 40 and counting, just if anyone can beat me. The overarching message that Rowling shares is one that emphasises the importance of imagination on the way to success and to strength. And when I was thinking what to say for the speech, I went back and I made the stupid decision of watching her speak before then trying to write mine. And as you can imagine, I sort of curled up in a ball of crippling self-doubt. Was like, I can't even. Why would anyone want to hear me speak when they can see that? I actually recommend you guys watch that. It's amazing. But two things. One thing really stood out for me in that speech, and that was this quote: "I think the willfully unimaginative see more monsters. They are often more afraid." And the reason I'm sharing this with you guys today is because I was asked to not only talk about the I'm Local project, but sort of to reflect on last year's NXT conference. And one of the most powerful things I took away from that was the realization that we as a group, us like queer and trans young people and our allies, we are brave enough to imagine a better world for ourselves. And that you might say is obvious, like of course we want to change things because, I mean, look at it. But I think what I witnessed last year was the unique way that we do it. We do it with such articulateness and intelligence and stubbornness and grit that it really struck a chord with me, and it was a really energizing environment. And I remember feeling really intimidated by like the drive and the achievements of the people around me, because I felt like I was sort of there by accident, which is kind of true. While working at Rainbow Youth has been an amazing privilege and just changed my life, in the years heading towards my employment there, I'd never really considered rolling up my sleeves and working for a charity organisation that supports queer and trans people. I wasn't even comfortable fitting into my own extremely gay skin, let alone trying to help anyone else fit into theirs, so that was that. And in fact, I'd spent most of my time, my childhood and my teenage years, with my nose in books. And unlike the people I met last year and the wider queer and trans community, I had always used my imagination to escape rather than to innovate my circumstances. But last year's conference brought a lot of exciting connections and opportunities that still resonate with me now. Being present at Elizabeth Kitty's seminar on Takatapu identities and witnessing her knowledge and her wisdom and her mana when she spoke about that, it sort of made me feel closer to my own Māori heritage in a way that I never have before. Another incredible experience was listening to Wellbeings, who was here yesterday, I believe, share a humbling and absolutely emotional account of life before the homosexual law reform of 1986. I remember sitting at that back table like sobbing, just being like, please, no one turn around. But I think probably the most significant impact that the NXT 14 conference had on me came from a place that I keep returning to, which is imagination. During one exercise, as Robbie has said, we were grouped together to brainstorm ideas for projects that could benefit queer and trans young people. And we had to then pitch the idea at a panel, so you can imagine me as I was freaking out. But the project that my group and I pitched was one that had been kind of simmering in my brain ever since I started working at Rainbow Youth. And so together the group and I gave it a name. We called it the I'm Local project. And we gave it a direction as well. So simple in its premise, but wide in its scope, the I'm Local project is an effort to reach young queer and trans people who live in more rural and isolated areas of Aotearoa. I know from experience what it's like to grow up queer in a small town. You feel at best invisible and at worst so lonely you want to give up, and that's not talking about all the other horrible things that people go through in isolated areas like that. And the I'm Local project seeks to make these small communities a little safer and a little less lonely by providing free resources to public spaces about sexual orientation and gender identity. And so the team and I, we got together and we pitched this before the panel of very official looking people, and Elizabeth Kitty was on the panel, so I was freaking out because she's amazing. Yeah, we were really lucky enough to receive some help from the US Embassy to sort of kick this all off. And so a year later, with the continued support of the embassy and a lot of hard work from the team at Rainbow Youth calling so many people, like lists of spreadsheets, we have to pick up the phone, and I'm terrible on the phone, just like public speaking, so it was bad. The own local projects, the own resources like this comic, which I think you guys all have in your little tote bags, that's the, I think that's the older one you guys have, maybe, I don't know, but yeah, it's, I've got a bunch if you guys want to come grab one off me. I just read on my piece of paper that I have in Stars holds up comic, so I did that, I held them. Are displayed in over 300 and counting high schools, medical centres, hospitals, libraries, marae and community centres all over Northland and Waikato. And we've got the Bay of Plenty and Hawke's Bay hot on their heels, so that's really cool. And I've also had the privilege of sharing information about this project in high schools. I spoke at the Waiuku High School Assembly with my co-worker H about it. That was absolutely deeply terrifying. The 16-year-old me was just like, what? I can't do this. We had to sit on stage, and I hadn't had a haircut, and it was all very, very scary.
Well, your hair is fabulous.
Oh, thank you. And I've also received emails thanking the project for the visibility it's created, which is really amazing. But yes, we have come up against those sorts of people that J.K. Rowling talks about, those willfully unimaginative that see more monsters. And they're scared we'll influence their children, their communities, or share our communist agenda. That's actually, I kid you not, somebody wrote in to a newspaper up north after hearing that we were bringing the Local project there, and was like, communist agenda this? And I mean, we're a charity, we can't be politically affiliated with any communism or not, so it was quite funny. I've got that little newspaper clipping just kept, because she actually researched the history of Rainbow Youth more intently than any of us had ever done, so I was like, oh, this will be useful for bits and pieces. I obviously, you guys as leaders in the queer and trans community young leaders will have probably more than likely come up against those unimaginative people. And when you work so hard for a cause, it can really suck and it can be really disheartening. But I just remember that those people are more afraid than we are. And I follow the example set by all the wonderful people that I've met throughout my time at Rainbow Youth and at last year's conference, and I'm sure at this year's conference as well. And that example is that I imagine. And it may not seem like much, cue corny Harry Potter pun that's coming up, hold on. It may not seem like much, but when you allow your imagination to form into ideas, strategies, and projects that better your world and the world of others, trust me, it's as powerful as magic. Yeah. And so now I'm going to leave you guys with another quote, because I have to make this past 5 minutes, and I talk really fast, so hopefully I have. I'm really sorry if I haven't. And the quote, obviously, I love J.K. Rowling, and there's never hurts to have a quote like hers floating around in your head. So it goes like this: you sort of start thinking anything's possible if you've got enough nerve. So thanks for listening, everybody. I hope you could understand that, and I will see you guys around.